Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're here today on our Total Wellness Tuesday, episode 2566 of the Cabral Concept. We're going to be going over 3 powerful tips to increase growth hormone while sleeping. Honestly, this is very easy to do, but it's not that most of us are taking into consideration how important this is. So here's what we want to understand is that our growth hormone helps us to repair every part of our body, right? So when we're looking at this, well, we want to look younger. Okay, well, growth hormone helps us to improve our hair, our skin, our nails, wrinkles, muscle tissue, metabolism, bone. So really important that, again, if we are looking to improve and work on anti-aging and also muscle recovery from workouts and just having more energy, and it goes well beyond that, which I'll talk about in a moment. You want to make sure that you're optimizing your growth hormone. And by the way, it's highest when we're sleeping. That's also why it's a difficult one to measure. So what we can do is we can measure it through something called IGF-1. I'll talk about that. But just again, so important that's why we talk about optimizing our sleep. Okay, but growth hormone does something else. One of the things that a lot of people are worried about is improving their overall immune system. They just don't want to fall prey to the next virus or to coughs and colds, or like I was just away last week. I literally flew to California, Northern California on Wednesday, flew there, was on 2 flights, delayed in the airport for like 3 hours, like a 16-hour travel day or so. Lots of coughing, lots of sickness, lots of everything. We'll put it that way. All right, so then I'm in California. I'm doing 5 hours of interviews, and then that's it. I go to sleep that night. I stay on East Coast time. I'm waking up at 3 o'clock or so the next morning, and I get to the airport around 4:15 or so for my early morning flight out. Okay, so then I'm flying now. I'm in the airports. I've got another layover, lots of coughing, lots of sneezing. And, lo and behold, I didn't catch a cold. Now, sometimes I do. Again, like I'm by no means invincible. And also I would say is I don't have the best immune system. I mean, I really don't. Keep in mind that I was a sick kid up until 27. I had allergies. I had borderline asthma. I had autoimmune issues, all sorts of issues. And I took 3,000 plus capsules of amoxicillin before the age of 17. So that whole innate immune system thing and your innate microbiome and good flora, I don't have that, right? I don't have that in the gut. I've had to build it up over the years. But even so, I don't naturally have that robust immune system like some people do. But what I try to do though, and I'm telling you, so if you're in the same camp as me, is like not the best robust immune system, a little bit more sensitive to the environment, foods, all of those things. What I've done is I've optimized my sleep. I've optimized my hormones. I've optimized all of these things naturally, meaning you don't need to just inject hormones into your body. Some people will, and some people will as they get much, much older. Now, I've done shows on that as well, the pros and cons, because I'm not here to tell you what to do with your body. What I always want to do is be a sounding board and hopefully a voice of reason and a lot of fringe-based diets and fringe-based like, hey, do whatever, experiment with this, experiment with that. I don't know that that's the best thing to do. I want you to live a long and healthy and enjoyable life. And so I'd be careful with some of these things, at least for right now, right? It's just we need more research on them. But one of the things that we do is we optimize growth hormone in order to be able to feel great. I mean, that's a big part of this. So that's what I want to share with you here today. 3 tips. I've already kind of shared with you a big part of optimizing growth hormone is optimizing your sleep. So let's talk about that. Well, the first few hours once you fall asleep is when you're going to get the biggest burst in growth hormone. Like I said, really difficult to lab test while you're sleeping, that's for sure. So what we do is we run a lab called the IGF-1 test. It's inexpensive to do, really simple test. It's just a blood spot that you would do for like a food sensitivity test or taking your own glucose. I believe I can link that up here today. I can't link up any nutritional supplements or anything, but I can link that up. So if you go to stephencabral.com/2566, you can test your IGF-1 levels at any age, children or adults, because there's a range that you should be in. But what I want to do is tell you how to maximize it naturally. So the first thing is this. Not a lot of people will tell you this because a lot of people are just saying like, hey, eat any time of the day, eat within a small window, and it can be right before bed. Even one of the leading longevity experts, that's the big meal is dinner. And they know, I mean, they have to know because the research points it out that that's the worst meal that you could eat, big meal. Like you could eat a bigger breakfast, get away with it. You could eat a bigger lunch, get away with it. But eating a big dinner is the absolute worst time of the day to eat a bigger dinner. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm guilty as well. Like if you're watching this on video, I'm raising my hand. And it's because like this is the meal that you get to sit down at night with your loved ones, your spouse, your partner, your family. You might go out to dinner after a long, hard day of work or school or whatever it is. So I get it and I understand. Here's how I mitigate that as much as possible. One, I don't overconsume food at that meal. All right, so really important that you're not stuffing yourself at dinner. But that's difficult. When you're only eating one meal a day for a lot of people, they have a huge dinner. And again, easier to get away with when you're younger, not so much when you start to get into your 40s and definitely not at 50s and beyond. It's just, again, I'm not going to get into that specifically today, but really important that we do look at that. And so here's how we do it though. And here's how the best way to improve your growth hormone. And you'll know this basically using deep sleep as a proxy. Like if your deep sleep is an hour and a half a night, you're most likely producing a great amount of growth hormone. So I have lots of podcasts on improving deep and REM sleep. We'll try to link those up for you here today at stephencabral.com/2566. But here's how you do it. And if dinner is going to be a bigger meal for you, right? How do you do it? It's 3 to 4 hours before bed is when you stop eating. And I'll link up another podcast called the 3-2-1 method for getting better sleep. So we'll link that up today. So a bunch of sleep podcasts we'll link up for you. Okay, stop eating 3 hours before bed. If you go to bed at 10, stop eating at 7. If you go to bed at 11, stop eating at 8. Like that is sound advice where you will see your heart rate variability improve. You will see your deep sleep improved. There's just no doubt about it. So try to stop eating 3 to 4 hours before bed. I stop eating about 4 hours before bed. That allows me then to eat a nice meal with my family, not the smallest meal, which really it should be, but a nice meal with my family. And I have 4 hours to digest that before going to bed. And so that's one way to kind of biohack your way into being able to eat a decent dinner. It just has to be a little bit earlier, okay? Really important we look at that. And by the way, wait for tip number 3 because you can't just push back your bedtime. It doesn't work that way. All right, so number 2 is this. Eliminate blue light and stress before bed. So originally I just wanted to add blue light. And the reason why I wanted to add that is because if you have larger amounts of blue light staring at a computer screen, a TV, et cetera, before bed, at least within an hour of bed, here's what's going to happen. You're going to continue to produce higher levels of cortisol. Your body's going to think it's daylight. Again, our body works on a diurnal rhythm. When it sees light, it tends to produce more cortisol. As the blue light, which is stronger in the morning, that's not a bad thing in the morning, but when it starts to fade mid-afternoon and get to evening and dusk, we produce less cortisol. That's normal. Like that's exactly how the human body was meant to work. Big boost in the morning between 6 and 8, and then a slow decline and a greater decline into the evening and dusk hours until the point of about 9:30 p.m., give or take 30 minutes or so based on the season. Okay, but stress will also elevate that hormone cortisol. Now, you can test your cortisol levels at night as well. Really important if you're not getting great sleep or you have testosterone or estrogen imbalances. That's called the stress, mood, and metabolism test. All labs you can find at stephencabral.com/labs, and you can do these right at home. Okay, so we're trying to lower that at least an hour, 90 minutes before bed. Start to eliminate those blue lights. Ideally, what I do is I have salt lamps around the house. I've got dimmers around the house. And I turn off the lights at 7:30, 7:45-ish. because that's when my daughters are getting ready for bed. So for them, they have a salt lamp in their room, like the air duct or the filters that we have, put them on the dim mode so there's no lights coming from that. And then my phone's automatically set, so it turns off the blue light on that. It puts it in night mode. You can do it for your laptop as well. So if I ever click on my laptop, it's actually based on the sunrise and sunset, and it automatically dims it as well. Most computers come with that. You can just kind of look up online how to set laptop into night mode light like that, and that will show up. So these are easy things to do. And then if you are watching TV, or if you're not going to turn down the lights, just wear a real simple pair of blue blockers. So I've got a bunch of pairs of, sorry, we're not allowed to call them blue blockers. That's a patented name. So these are blue light blocking glasses. And you just literally just slip them on. That's it. And you'll be able to block out 95% of the blue light. And so that's really helpful. And then just put them beside your bed at night when you go to sleep, and there you have it. So that's an easy thing to do. Around 8 o'clock, you just put on your blue light blocking glasses. I can give a link to that as well. They're really not that expensive either, honestly. And they're super lightweight. At least this pair is. I don't even know what this is made out of because this is definitely not my forte, but I'll link to those as well. So really simple. I'm sure you've seen blue light blocking glasses before, but I wanted to give you one more tip. This is important. And this is, okay, well, let's go back to it. I always like to give you the why. So you don't want cortisol elevated at night, because if cortisol is elevated at night, then you're not going to produce the inverse, so the opposite of cortisol, which is melatonin. So if cortisol is high, melatonin's low. When melatonin's high, cortisol's low. They work as partners, as antagonists, but they're meant to work together. So if melatonin levels are high, most likely growth hormone levels are going to be high. That's what we want. And then you get deep sleep. So really, really important that we look at that fact. All right, one more point that we want to look at. And again, I always like to just try to give you as much as possible. I don't want to overwhelm you. And so sometimes I worry about giving too much information on any one show. But for some people, they have difficulty unwinding, right? They're just difficulty unwinding. A product called Adrenal Soothe, which contains ashwagandha, phosphatidylserine, L-theanine, really nice product that would be able to kind of calm those cortisol levels naturally. You might try something called full spectrum magnesium. That's going to help calm that. You can take these at dinner and they kick in within the next hour or 2 hours, kind of naturally and gently sedate the body, get you into a nice deep sleep. Okay, so that's that. Now the last one is this. This is more a circadian rhythm trick. This was an absolute game changer for me in order to improve my immunity. I kind of gave you a little bit of a foray as to what I do when I travel to the West Coast. So if I'm only there for 2 days, so if I'm only there for 2 nights, 3 nights maximum, I don't get myself onto West Coast time. So I go to bed between 9:30 and 10:30 p.m. every single night. I find it impossible to get into bed before 9:30. Even between 9:30 and 10 is difficult because of how I want to live my life. Now, again, I can make the choice to go to bed earlier. My daughters go to bed somewhere around 8 p.m., right? So if they're going to bed at 8 p.m., well, I could go to bed right after them, right? Like that's possible, but I choose not to because I also want to be able to socialize with my wife, take care of all the things that I need, have nice conversations with her, like be an actual couple. I think that's important. And so when you look at that, then you say, well, we want to be able to hang out, talk, watch a favorite TV show, whatever it might be, for an hour or so. And so it's really challenging for me, at least at the stage of my life where I'm at, to get in bed before 9:30. And I don't think I ever will because I don't really want to go to bed earlier than that. So most nights, I'm in bed between 9:30 and 10. Like that's the goal, to be in bed by 10, and that's probably more realistic. Okay, so why do I say that? Well, for me, I didn't do it to actually boost growth hormone, and I'll get back to the West Coast story in just a moment. I did it because I had to train my body to fall asleep at the same time every night. And the reason is that I was a complete insomniac. I had a very difficult time falling asleep really up until around 30 years old. Really difficult time. The thing that changed is that I stopped going out late. So I never stayed out really past 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11, once I got into my late 20s. Because I realized that I was going out like a Friday night and or Saturday night, and maybe I'd go to bed at like 2 o'clock, maybe even later. And so then I'd sleep until what? I don't know, 8 hours after that, like maybe like 10:30 or so. Okay, then you start your day and kind of do it again. Well, by the time Sunday night rolls around, I'm not tired until well after midnight. And that's kind of no way to start your week. So now I start my week with like 5 hours of sleep. So the game changer for me was I used something like the sleep health protocol for about 3 to 6 weeks. I got my body back into a circadian rhythm, went to bed within a half hour of the same time every night. And it was an absolute game changer in terms of my overall health, energy, mitochondria, inflammation, everything. Like I can't recommend enough. And it's basically free. Just go to bed within a half hour of the same time every single night. And again, like pick whatever time you want for right now. But if you go to bed before 11, you're going to produce more growth hormone than if you were to go to bed later at night. You will. And the reason is that you're working with a natural diurnal rhythm, which means light hours and dark hours, and circadian rhythm of human nature. So if you begin to rise with the sun and go to bed with the dark, you're going to be in natural rhythm with the earth and with nature. And humans are really the only creatures that get out of rhythm with the earth. And it counts for a lot of the sickness in both mentally and physically that we do have. So again, like this works for mood as well. I can't recommend this enough. Waking up with light, you can use a natural wake light. And then of course, sunlight as well. Get that sunlight in the morning. Okay, so again, try to get to bed between 9:30 ideally and 10 if you can. Lowest levels of cortisol is typically around that time. You don't want that second wind that kicks in that then people start to think they're a night owl, right? Get to bed earlier. And then if you do have to travel, and I'm just going to give you this little quick tip, is that I go to bed no later than what would be about 10:30, maybe 11 East Coast time. So that means I'm in bed by 8 p.m. Out in the West Coast. I know it sounds a little bit strange, but I'll just do my dinner a little bit earlier. I'll get to bed at that time, around 8 p.m. West Coast. I close the curtains of the hotel room much earlier, and I typically out there, I'll take my sleep help support supplements, and I'll just get to bed earlier. And so, yes, I'm waking up at 3 or so in the morning, or 4 in the morning on West Coast time, but I have now an incredible amount of time to start the first part of the day. But then when I get back home, I don't need to transition time-wise. And so, again, this might not be for everyone, but what I try to do is keep myself healthy. It's really important for me. I have a busy schedule. I like having high energy. I like being able to work out. I like having energy for my daughters, my whole family. Like I like that. And if you're someone that wants the energy and they want the health and the immune system and not get sick when you travel, it's at least something to consider and think about. So by boosting growth hormone naturally, there's almost no downside. You're going to get all the benefits of anti-aging, immune system, repair, cellular regeneration, better tolerance to workouts, and much more. So thank you so much for tuning into the show. If there's any follow-up questions, leave them in the comments, let me know. And of course, do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.